what you're getting. It's not like it's different. So,
2-1. All right. Hey, welcome back to the Go for CO channel. This is, yes, your host, John the Bomb. Building others means business. And as the background says of this gentleman, it's inspiring to actually have him on. I met him at a networking event through a friend of mine. And just as soon as he shared the story of what he's going to share with you, why he started this company, what are some of the relevant social things that he's doing outside of the company and within the fabric of the company, it's really, really awesome. He's in an impactful industry, right? The title company industry, and making moves and doing big things. So, Dru, welcome to the Go for CO channel, and excited to have you on.
and I appreciate being here, John. Thanks for having me out here today to chat and share with your audience. And I got to tell you, the name is catchy. John the Bomb is pretty catchy. It's pretty strong. I might have to borrow that out there. Don't copyright that on me yet.
It's funny. I actually looked up johnthebomb.com and somebody had it for some reason.
Of course they do. Come on.
Yeah. But it came about from a social media app called Clubhouse.
That's awesome.
In the 2020s, right? When the pandemic hit, we all kind of migrated to this Clubhouse app, kind of like on Twitter or X right now. They have these audio rooms that you just speak about ideas and business and all that stuff. And
yeah.
Yeah, the guy told me, this guy, Jeff the entrepreneur, his name was, that he said, hey, you should have a catchy phrase so when you come up on stage to speak, people remember you. So the first probably month and a half, I was like, John the Bomb. Okay, John the Bomb. All right, sounds. Hey, it's John the Bomb. Building others means business. And I'm literally not kidding you. I was kind of in the same rooms, right? Because you gravitate to people, you talk business and leadership and all these things. And all of a sudden, one of the guys that was running the rooms, he's like, hold on a second. Bomb means building, others means business. He's like, I never knew that. I go, I've only been introducing myself in the intro and outro every time.
Sure. No, that's it. Like you said, I agree with that. I think it is important to, position yourself to be recognized. And I think, John the Bomb is obviously very, it's definitely recognizable and catchy. I mean, people are going to absolutely go, oh, it's that guy, so you can connect the dots. It's good. Good.
Awesome. Well, hey, look, we're here for you. Love to hear. Right now, the beginning of the conversation is always about what were the ideation points? Were you working somewhere? Have you always been in this business? How did you talk about things to peers, and where did you start in this business? So, we'd love to get a little bit of background, and then we'll get deeper into the conversation.
No, love it, and it's an interesting story, and it's so I'm Dru the title guy. Right? Because, that's would be my thing. But as soon as you hear that, people don't know what that means. Title insurance is not sexy. It's not something that people, the people in our industry know that they need us, but they don't really know why, or they don't know what it is. And it's just kind of part of the transaction. So go ahead and try to sell that. Try to sell title insurance to anybody in the world, because they look at you and go, right. Hey, so when you go to these network events and you go to these different social gatherings, and you're standing over there in the corner and you hear, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm a mortgage guy, I'm a title guy. And it's like, wow, I don't even know if I should be picking the crumbs up. Like, what do I do? Because I've had very educated people look at me and just shake their head. Like I didn't know if they didn't hear me or if they have literally no idea what I'm doing. So I experienced that for a long period of time. Now, I fast forwarded there a little bit, but so my initial career, I started working in construction at, the young age of 16, 17 years old while I was in high school, finishing up high school and things, and loved it. Building houses on the southwest suburbs here. And it was a trade. My dad was always a guy who said, you're going to learn a trade, whether it be, plumbing, electric, whatever it is, you're going to learn a trade. And that was certainly something that I valued from his teachings. And it's a dying art, because there's less and less people that are handy and mechanical. My brother chose going into becoming learning working with an electrician for a while. So I did that for several years. And once I got out of college and went to college for a couple of years, and wound up that my wife and I were expecting a baby. Our girlfriend and I were expecting a baby, and here I am, 20 years old, going, wow, okay, it's time to grow up now. I played baseball in, high school, played baseball in college, and I'm, going there going, wow, this is like, I want to still play baseball. Now I got to be a dad. This is crazy.
Wow.
So I had to get into the working world quickly and really grow up fast, because I wasn't gonna, have a child and not have a career, and not have, anything to do. So um, my wife and I got married, and we had our son, and I was working in the financial space, where uh, doing I was actually an arbitrator for the SEC. I was against the SEC for people who were owning broker dealers. I would help them set up their broker dealers in these different states, and if they were ever brought in by the SEC to be challenged because of something they're doing, I would be part of the arbitration for them to do this. I loved that, because I just I love being in front of people. I love talking. I love negotiating. I love the back and forth of what that kind of communication is. And I saw the market coming into this 2004 and 5 world, and I just was like, this is going to be bad. And my partner in the business at the time, a little bit older than I was, I told him, I said, this is not going to go well. Like, this is going to really be a bad thing. And I said, you and I are the highest paid people in this company. My dad is an attorney, and he real estate attorney, and he owned a title company at that time as well. And I had, through high school and college, I had some stints in and out of the title company of just kind of, doing some just, grunt work type things, filing and little stuff like that. But he had contacted me in early 2005 with a partner who is, has cancer, doesn't know what that situation is. And he's kind of, his back was up against the wall. And I'm looking at this shift going, okay, the markets are going to go crazy. Dad's struggling over there. You know what? I'm gonna make the decision here to step down from this position and partner in a company and go and work with my dad in the title company, because I saw that he needed help, and it was a tough circumstance. So I've not left. I've been in the title business since then, in 2005, 2006. So I came in there, and he owned a company called Enterprise Title. And, I learned every facet of it and everything. And I hated it. I'm going, this is boring. Like it wasn't moving fast enough there. Like, again, nobody knows who I am and what we do. I felt like I took some steps backwards, and I kept getting beat up and beat up at all of these networking and social events that I kept going to, as to, so how are you different than Chicago Title, was the big question. Or what do you do that Chicago Title can't do? Like, and it drove me nuts. And John, God's honest truth, I said, I need to answer that question. I can't keep walking around not answering that question. So it came to me that the real excitement for me was in, this giving back, and it's something bigger than us. And as I evolved through learning in my dad's company, I wanted to get out from the umbrella of him, and having his thumb always on my forehead, telling me, no, you'll never do that, that's not going to work, that's not going to work. I need to do this on my own, because I can't handle somebody saying no, because no, it's got to be further than that. I mean, I got to find out for myself. You got to give me more than no, because. So I quickly learned that my differentiator is going to be nothing more than telling people that we're going to be philanthropic. We're going to do something that's going to make a difference, because it was just so important to me, and it was on my heart. So realistically, I started Inspired Title, and from Inspired Title, what happened literally was nothing more than my differentiator saying, I'm going to give back. And how am I going to do that? Every deal that we close, every transaction that we do, I'm going to give a part of those proceeds that we would earn as a company to local organizations, and partner up and work with these different organizations. And I was going to make these donations to these different folks who were less fortunate than we were. And that became my speak is, well, how are you different than Chicago Title? How are you different than First American? Okay, my differentiator is that every deal that you close with us, I'm going to give a portion of what I would earn back to the community. So now I have been wonderfully blessed with a team who is buying into that and drinking the Kool-Aid from my cup to just love what this is, because it's not just about, doing, closings and title work. It's now about, wow, the more business we bring in, the more people we can help. Last year, we raised somewhere around $40,000. We gave back around $40,000 to different events and charities that we did. This year, I am looking to start my own NFP to be very, very fortunate to working with the mental health space. I'm trying to break the stigma in business about mental health. There's just so much of it going on where, there's people, there's leaders that are running companies that they don't know what's going on with their employees, and they don't know how to approach them. They don't know how to talk to them. Those employees don't know how to talk back to the supervisors or leaders. And it's just all because of maybe, something they're going through, a mental health issue. So I've been doing these panels for the last year. We do 3 to 4 panels events a year where we literally bring professionals on and help out, giving people resources and ideas and avenues for help and guidance and things. And in the 2005, 6, 7, 8 crazy, there were a lot of the flips that were going on. There were a lot of the foreclosures and short sales, and we were doing a lot of those type investor deals. And I saw that there was a need in that a lot of our clients were coming to us for looking for hard money lending, and because going to a traditional bank, that was hard to find, financing, because they didn't like the deal. And we adapted to what the era was, which is now this new model of short sales and fix and flips and, back-to-back closings and all that ugliness. And then the underwriters came in and went, whoa, 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 slow down. Like, this is not okay, because, it was even moving too fast for them. And they wanted to make sure that regulations were still in place and we weren't doing anything that was going to put us in harm's way. But I started realizing that, oh, wait a minute, this guy over here needs money to do that deal. He's having a hard time finding it. So I started lending money to some of our clients to do these flips and fixes that we were going to close and such, and charging them exorbitant interest rates of 12-15%. They're going, this is great. And recording a lien against a property, so I protected myself. And I did that for probably 18 months. And then I kind of watched them do the projects and stuff. I'm going, I don't need to do that anymore. I have a background that's construction. I can do this myself. So I started doing it myself. So I opened up a development company. So I've got a company called Inspired Development, and we do a lot of, well, we have some projects that we've built a few new homes in Indiana. I have a 13-acre parcel in Maryville that I'm looking to put 34 homes on it when things kind of change a little bit. I'm doing a project in the city. I have a 13-unit building that I have partnered with a gentleman, and we started the Black Coalition for Housing, and we're putting together some affordable housing in the city that I'm kind of overseeing and doing as well. So I've been blessed with some of those opportunities that have allowed me to take something that I really didn't love and enjoy and make it something that was not only my own, but something that I would mold into something I love and enjoy. Because, I have my family works here with me. All 3 of my kids are working here with me in some facet. My oldest son he's the director of sales, and he's one of our closers. My middle son is a project manager when I do the construction stuff. My daughter is the only smart one. She's the actual therapist, and she's now leading the philanthropy part of the company and helping us kind of really kick that off and really, get that larger. But so she's here, handful of days a week. So if I'm not all in, I'm lying, because there's nothing more stressful and pressure to a day to know that you're not only working for a cause, but you're also working for your kids and your family,
Yeah.
and to build a legacy. So, we're a small title company, and we're licensed in Illinois, we're licensed in Indiana. We can do business across the nation with our underwriters, but we are licensed in Illinois and Indiana right now. So is the development company. So, we're doing a lot of remodel. We did a lot of remodeling jobs. I think I did 30 or 40 houses in Maywood that we, remodeled and resold, and it was great. And now it's kind of adapting to whatever this new market's going to be, and finding out what that next niche is going to be. But my passion for building and my passion for giving back, that stayed kind of constant. That, where I've been volatile is in the title space of going, I'm using this as a tool to really resource a bigger cause, which is this giving back and being philanthropic. So we're hoping to announce, somewhere here in June, July, that we are going to be a, full-fledged not-for-profit, and be doing the work of what I really want to do with leaving the legacy for my daughter as a therapist, to have her lead this thing, and me kind of just using the companies to facilitate that, and the opportunities that there's good out there for people to do.
Well, I'll tell you what, I pulled that string and you delivered. So I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, that was a long, elevator pitch, but you know what? That elevator, that was pretty tall building we were in.
No, and so much wisdom in that, right? So go for CEO community, replay that again, because Dru goes through some of the things that we talk about in our community, which is assess where you're at, right? You were in that first partnership assessing that your dad needed some help. You didn't know exactly what it was going to look like, but you went in there. Then you aligned yourself, right? You became aligned with the people that you need to know, the information they need to know.
Right.
And obviously you created, other verticals within Inspired Title to be able to do the GC stuff, right, and the development, and actually hard capital out there in the
Right.
marketplace, which I have a officer friend of mine that's trying to get out of becoming an officer. Unfortunately, he's dealt with a lot of strife over the last few years, last administration stuff, and so he used to develop before, and he became an officer because he wanted to serve, and now he's looking to get out again. So it's interesting. We'll have to talk offline about some
Yeah.
he's doing. And it's interesting, right? Because building a home, we're going through personally, my wife and I, looking at some builders for our own personal home,
Sure.
and it's interesting to kind of see the big ones, right? That are, let's not to name drop, but
Yeah.
the guys
Yeah.
that do it in a manufacturing plant.
Correct.
Their thing is everything's laser precision, and we'll bring the house over here, and then we connect the dots, right? And then
Yep.
the guys that are doing like hammer and nail, we actually
Absolutely.
met one of the builders around the area that the plumber is one of our good friends because his wife was our nanny.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
it's
Yeah.
so cool.
That's
So we're
you
leaning,
connect it. Mm-hmm.
yeah, we're leaning towards him because we just love
Sure.
craftsmanship and everything. We just got to get to a place and hopefully
Yeah.
that we can get to. But anyway, long story short, really, really cool. So obviously, you ran through this situation of changing, and you had some visionary things because in '05, I remember I started my other company in automotive in '04, and I didn't see '08. So you were ahead of the game,
Yeah.
knowing that some things were going to change, and you're being ahead of the game using Inspired Title to break away from what they call the blue ocean, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, the red ocean. You
Red
became
Ocean.
the
Mm-hmm.
blue ocean, right? By putting philanthropy in front of your pitch per se, right? In front of your
Yep.
message,
Yes.
and what you guys do. So you've obviously, like the title says, right, inspired other people to do business with you because of that motion. So awesome stuff. So let's get into some nitty gritty on,
Yeah.
obviously I love that you have family with you, but growing a family business can't, it's not always easy.
No.
Your dad
No.
brought you brought
Yep.
your,
Yeah.
and surrounding them is other supportive people. What were some of those beginning stages of leadership that you had to learn and you can share with the community about how you bring someone in and what area of your business you need to help them help you develop?
Yeah. And I love, I've mentored people for a lot of years in my life. I mean, I've been a baseball coach for 30 years. I wrote a book about baseball, and it's actually not about baseball. It's about life lessons. It literally is called the 2 hour difference. And it's teaching kids life lessons, because let's just, cut to the chase. You spend a certain amount of time with these kids, teaching them the game or practicing and then playing the game. Okay, well, it's not about the W or the L. Whereas for some coaches, that's all it was about. For me, it was about getting them prepared to play at the next level and making sure that they had all the tools that they needed to advance to that next level. I basically run my businesses the exact same way I coach a baseball team. Right butts in the right seats. I'm not going to put little Johnny over at third base if Johnny Baum is doing a great job at and hasn't made any errors and he's pounding on the baseball. Well, okay, it's recognizing and really having conversation and understanding your team, whether it be a baseball team or your team that you're in a work environment. Because I've had so many interactions with parents that are, they're expressing their frustration, because the reality is, everybody's kid is a D1 ball player and they're looking for that college scholarship money. And why aren't they getting there? He's batting seventh. Why, he should be batting third. Have you talked to him? He doesn't want to be under that pressure with bases loaded and the winning run on third. He doesn't want it. And if you would speak to him like I do, they would learn that. And the book kind of really emphasizes that and talks about a lot of different stories and a lot of different things. I was blessed to be invited to 3 high school graduations from former ball players. 2 of them were valedictorians that were able to speak. And all 3 of them made a mention of their travel baseball experience coach, that the impact that I made on them, because I prepared them for more than just being an athlete. I prepared them for being a man. And like, I really realized in that COVID time is when I wrote the book. I realized at that point that that's it. That's my passion. That's my leadership gift and skill. So, I bring my kids in, I teach them, the ABCs of what we do here. And anybody else I've brought in, there's 8, 9 of us here. My role is, I'm not a boss. There's no part of me that is a boss, because a boss to me is the guy who is out in front, or I'm sorry, behind them, smacking them in the rear end, telling them to go, go, go. A leader is the guy out in front, bobbing and weaving, taking the hits, as well as allowing them. I can't hear you. Are you talking? I can't hear you. You're good?
No, you're good. Good.
Okay. Okay, cool. No worries. No worries. So I, listening to, watching, I'm out in front, bobbing and weaving and taking these, and leading them. I'm literally, that's the purpose of a leader, is lead them. You can't lead them from behind. And in being a boss is a term that they, you smack them with. So I'm always in a leadership space. And so when you bring your family in here and you have to set those boundaries, and you literally have to allow the understanding that, at work, these are your boundaries. Okay. They're different than father son or father daughter. I can't treat you any differently than I treat everybody else. You're not going to get preferential treatments. My expectations are probably going to be higher of you. And they both know this because I've coached them both. And believe me, they know that. I mean, I was blessed with their ability. They were, very, very good athletes. So I never had any of the other parents going, oh, why is your son playing, all the time, and all. Never had to worry about it. They spoke for themselves. And that's I love the whole adage of, you don't have to ever say a word in the game of baseball. Just play it. It speaks for itself. You hit the ball over the fence, run the bases. You don't need to celebrate and dance and do cartwheels. Run the bases. Guess what? Next time you're up, they're going to remember you. If you did that song and dance, you just undid the greatness of what just happened. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a, run silent, run deep. But here, where I've taught and where I've led is by, I put people in these spaces, and then I load them up, and I find out where their where their levels of breaking are. How much can they handle? Because if I tell them to go ahead and do these 5 things, they're going to do the ones they like. If
Mhm.
I just load them up, they don't realize sometimes the ability, the capacity that they have. Now, if this guy stops, here, but this one goes up to here, that's wonderful. That's not to mean that this guy's worse than this one. That just means that that's his threshold. I know how far I can push that person, but I can push that person a little bit further. So they're now going to be elevated to this job, or this is maybe where they're going to be better suited. So that for me is they'll learn to pile on, see what they could do. And they all have gotten to a point where like, whoa, enough. I can't do one more thing. Cool. I measure where that is. And I tell you that 99% of the time, they're even further along than they thought they would ever be because
Mhm.
they didn't know what their capacity was because nobody's ever pushed or challenged them to find out what that answer is or how to get where they are. So it's same thing in the game of ball. I made the game of baseball smaller. We played when we would do it indoors, it was smaller and faster. So if because I'm hyper, I'm moving, I'm going. If it's moving fast and quick, when you get out on the diamond, it doesn't move that fast. You have
Mhm.
time to actually think. If you can perform in that fast pressure stretch situation out on the field, the confidence is incredible because it's not coming that fast. It's not happening as quickly as we simulate it in practice. Same thing at the office. Like I love chaos. I love when there's pressure situations and there's a lot of volume going on and there's a lot of things happening because when I come into that, I fit in because I'm making noise too. It's when things are dead and quiet, I don't fit in because I'm making noise still. I'm still trying to, shake trees and make things happen, but I'm less, and so they have seen and watched me under all different circumstances, whether, the high of highs and the low of lows. And each of them has, in their own way, said to me that it's really interesting and it's really respectful they really respect how I adapt to these different situations and how it teaches them to deal with adversity because you know there's so many people are in this give up mentality or they quit because things got tough. Like if things got tough and you're going to quit every day, you're not going to go very far. That's in my book. And that was fifth grade level baseball. Like come on, if you're gonna give up on anything that got hard, you're gonna be giving up every day of your life. So it's really just emphasizing the importance of team and not throwing each other under the bus. If somebody is making a mistake or struggling, you go over there and you pick up and you support. Because if ground ball comes to you in second base and you flip it to the shortstop and there's nobody there, you're going to yell at the shortstop, or are you going to go get the ball and finish the play? Like there's no benefit in that. So having they hated it at the onset when I brought everything to the dialogue of baseball, but now the expectation is there and they love it and they can relate to it and they see the vision of what my teaching is and what the overarching goal is. And I think that has just caused this positive environment and culture that we have here that it is truly a team where there is no doubt that I feel super confident with my team against so many other companies that are out there in the way that they're aligned in the bond that they've created. I don't have any turnover, knock on wood.
Mhm.
And that is such a blessing for me. I look back at my dad and his business, and I mean, 5 years was kind of the longevity of some of these folks. And I'm sitting here looking at, 9, 12, 15, 16. Like, yeah, no, that's incredible. So I must be doing something right.
No, you are, and I think it reminds me, and it should remind our audience that leadership matters, right?
Oh,
Um, I funny enough, this was my first year ever coaching fifth grade girls basketball, which I'm a soccer player all my life and
okay.
did the accolades and all that stuff. And it's interesting because my wife and my fifth grade daughter, I have three of them,
Mhm.
um, and they're like, I don't know if it'll be good for you because I'm pretty intense when it comes to sports and shout at the TV or like, oh, move
Yeah,
this, that," or, whatever, especially
right.
when it's in my own sport, I definitely get animated.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about that, all right, what you just stated and how to move people, and I saw when it was, 12-12 and there was a minute and a half left in the fourth period, and
Yeah.
all right, so and you see which girls are kinda shying away, who you could put in front, who you call a play for,
Right.
type of stuff. So, and then the same in business, when I've had my businesses or even as an entrepreneur inside of a company,
Hmm.
um, you know, putting together teams or seeing who on the team is willing to share and lead by example
Right.
and be an activist for this opportunity or this need within the group is so cool. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. I mean, you've taken us, and I can take nuggets from each part that you just shared,
Hmm.
from leadership to inspiration to social impact to marketing, right? Changing
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
messaging is, the branding. So a lot of stuff is in the context of what you've been able to build. And then obviously you have a book and you have verticals within your business that
Yeah.
complement each other, that tie into each other. That's a nice part. I'll segue to. A lot of people don't know. I was, throughout the years, I've been in telecom, automotive, and finance,
Okay.
and whenever I've talked to people, there is a notion of like, hey, if I've spent 10,000 hours at one thing, and that's awesome, I think it is great. But what do you feel as an entrepreneur that helped you guide to say, hey, okay, I could be working in the title business, and I could have branded it the way that you have, but then you saw opportunity in development, you saw opportunity in private capital.
Mhm.
What are some things that you could share with entrepreneurs, CEOs, companies to say to them, "Hey, here's a vertical I feel confident that we can explore, and our clients will want to entrust us with."
I think that really who you surround yourself with will also help afford you some of those ideas and options, because I think when you are in something that is so niche as title is, and such an enigma, and it forces you to, be the guy who's making the most noise in the room. So you're jumping up and down over there in the corner because you want to be seen. But yet I think that, for me with connecting all these dots was centering myself around what am I passionate about. And it came back to the construction and building, because the thought process of driving away when I was 16, 17, 18 years old from my day and looking across the field and seeing what you just did in that day is unlike what we do on a daily basis, because we can leave the office and look around and go, wow, it looks like a mess, right? We don't necessarily have a visual return to what we did for the day. So that vision and that visual stays with me in so many different facets of my thought process. So I wanted to make sure that I found and I was centered around something that I was passionate about, and realizing and saying, okay, I like building and I like construction. Well, wait a minute, I'm in the title business. Oh, wait a minute, you need money to do it. Oh, wait a minute, you need realtors and mortgage folks and et cetera. So you start to now really engage in conversations to see if that theory that you started with is real, and start having conversations, and you start to expand your circle out a little bit, and in taking some chances, dip your toe in that water, go, all right, well, it's not as cold as I thought, but I'm going to give it a shot. Worst case scenario, you're no worse off, you're still back where you were. But you gotta crack some eggs to make an omelet. And realistically, I think that you know surrounding yourself with people that are like-minded, that can also feed you with ideas, and you know brainstorming sessions. I think with mentors yourself, I've surrounded myself with people who I found to be really good leaders, or who have guided me in some ways. Unfortunately, my dad was not that person, because we butted heads so often, and I was just, everything I said I wanted to do, it was, well, I tried that, it didn't work. Okay, that was you. I need to do this for me. And if I would have listened to that, and if I would have continued to, just accept that, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, because everything I'm doing, allegedly, he tried and he couldn't. So in my eyes, I'm winning. And again, it's not about winning. It's about, the bigger picture for me has always been the the it's about making a difference. My
Mhm.
goal every day, John, honestly, is, how am I going to make a difference in somebody's life today? I don't know in what facet, but I want to make a difference in somebody's life today, whether it's a piece of advice, whether we're actually giving, whether I've, taken some time to help them through a difficult situation. If you look at a lot of my LinkedIn and my Facebook posts and things, it's all inspirational driven. It's all me offering, just things to think about today. Things people, are struggling, and people don't talk about it. And I want to let people know it's okay to not be okay, and function in today's world. So that inner love and passion is burning so much inside of me that I don't think I think I'm unstoppable with just continuing to just go down these paths of trying different things, and knowing that you're going to fail on some of them. Every successful entrepreneur has failed a dozen times or more. It's about, getting back up and knowing that nobody's going to just sit there and go, poor me, and help you out. Nobody's always going to reach the hand out. And we are conditioned to be the people we're embarrassed when we fall down. Think about it. You trip and fall, like in an open public place. If people come around, you're like, no, I'm okay. I'm all right. No, don't worry about it. I'm fine. But yet, I mean, nine out of 10 people, if not all 10, are going to do that exact same thing, versus the one individual who will lay there and try to figure out how I can sue this place and own it. Right. I mean, there's two sides, but I mean, the people who stay down, well, that's not the people that I'm going to find myself, circling myself with, because I can't relate. I don't understand that. I'm saddened by that. I try to help lift them and motivate them and guide them, but I can't be, brought to think like that, because I got to think in a positive manner. And, you know, one of the tips that I have given to everybody I've ever mentored, anybody I've ever talked to, including my kids, you're going to get things handed to you in life throughout the entire time. If you can find, and it'll probably change, but if you can find that point in your life where, what was the worst thing that you have ever been exposed to? Identify that. And it may change over the years. Hopefully it doesn't. But if you get to the point where, you lose a child, you lose something traumatic's happened in your childhood, whatever, and you look in the mirror and you go, I got through that. Is this anywhere near as bad as that? And I'll tell you, the answer is no. And I will tell you that that is the most fueling and motivational thing that you can use, because you just identified mentally what was the hardest and worst thing that you've ever endured, and you're still here to talk about it. So this fact that this closing didn't happen today, or it's raining, and your golf game got canceled, and or you got the IRS, you got to pay the IRS some money. Okay, but you didn't lose a child. You didn't, you know, whatever that is. It's not that bad. So
Mhm.
perspective is a lot of it.
Yeah. No, I love it. I mean, a lot of wisdom and everything that you're sharing. So, as we complete an interview, we typically go through the Go for CEO formula, right? Which is C for client experience, E for engagement, and O for operational excellence. And you've shared some really great nuggets throughout. And in fact, this last portion made me think of Sly when he talks to his son in the movie, and he,
Yes.
oh, hey, it doesn't matter how many times
Yeah.
we fall down. It's how many times we get up.
Exactly. Right. It is.
And it is
It
true.
is.
It's and entrepreneurs. That's why I love doing this, right? Interviewing so many different walks from my buddy that has owned a body shop for 50 years to, to a mortgage broker in Australia. I've had on. Um,
Nice.
it's interesting to hear the dynamics and everything. And I think we as entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs too, because every great company needs people inside of it. They don't
Sure.
have to be the owner, but they could be that 1A, 1B, 1C, 2A,
Amen.
3A, whatever. I mean, Amazon didn't become who it is just because of Jeff Bezos, right?
Right. True
Uh,
statement.
but it's incredible. So client experience, what would you say is kind of a value add prop from an inspired title, your development, every source area that you do? What do you think is, maybe 60 seconds on why that customer experience is different?
I think coming to us in hearing our story and hearing the Cliff Note version of our story and knowing that they're choosing or the vendor is choosing to work with us, we're going to take those funds and do something good with it. I think that experience, and not everybody is philanthropic, and I understand that. But even if you're not philanthropic, you know that there is a percentage of what just took place that's going to be going to a good cause, whether you believe in the cause or not, or even if you believe in the mission, doesn't matter. So I think that has really been a connecting part of our relation that we've been growing. And I haven't found anybody that's like, wow, why are you doing that? That's ridiculous. I mean, it's always the other,
Yeah,
always the other.
that's great. That's great. So and then engagement, I mean, you've shared a lot of wisdom on how, from a coaching standpoint, inside and outside the business, those types of things. But why do people engage with Inspired and your team and you? What are you doing? Are you doing events? Are you doing webinar? Like
Mhm.
how are ways that you engage people
Yeah.
from vendors to employees?
So all of it, we are very active in the community. We are very active in people's lives. We are very active in every aspect of what we do uh, because we want to make a difference, and we know that it's not about us. We know it's about something bigger than us. So I think that our engagement is increased because of the people that we are. They see that we're authentic. They see that we're genuine. Like it's not, you know, if we can't get it done, we're not going to lead you down the primrose path to say that we're going to get it done. If we can't get it done, we're going to be no. But flip side of that is we're able to think outside the box because we are a smaller title company. I'm able to take some more underwriting type chances than maybe some of the bigger guys are because I'm able to think outside the box. Also, the creative part of that allows that, and then our team meets people where they're at, literally, whether it be we're going to meet at Starbucks to close this deal, or you're struggling, I see it, I'm going to choose not to talk to you today and give you the space that you need. I'm going to respect that. So we'll meet you at your at where to get the job done and rise to the occasion and go over and above to do it, or we're going to leave you alone because we respect the space that you're in, good or bad.
Yeah, no, and engaging like that allows people to be and stay authentic to where they need to be, and obviously you guys accepting that. So and then last one is operational excellence, and what we mean by that is, what are some cool tools that you guys are using? Are you using certain softwares? Are you getting into AI lately? Where are you seeing your operational excellence grow over the last 2 3 years, and where you're going?
This question is great, and I think that COVID has made the fast forwarded our lives by 5 years easily. I think it 5x'd us because we had to adapt and we had to do things that I think we were gonna do anyway, but we just had to do them sooner. And I think that now that we're really seeing what AI is and what the new technology is, it's about streamlining, it's about simplifying, it's about making things easier for the consumer. I'm all in for that, but I just don't want to lose that personal connection. I mean, we pride ourselves on relationship building. We pride ourselves on meeting people and developing what we're doing here to say, I know if I call John up and ask this question, I'm going to get an answer that I'm expecting. With AI and some of the other tools, we may not get that. So I'm trying to navigate that a little bit, but we are moving into a path of doing a little bit more AI things. We're also trying to expand on our outreach to taking on maybe some more states and becoming licensed a little bit more uh, broadly based on just what our clients are telling us. So it's an interesting time, and typically this is when we do it, is when the market is kind of uncertain and business is not at its peak. We're kind of waiting for things to settle, so it's like, all right, well, let's plan for when this gets big. Let's position ourselves to when things start to turn around, because what's great about real estate. It always does. And so it's just, get on the roller coaster ride and strap in, kids, because here we go.
You made me think right now of intangible and tangible, right? Real estate is always very tangible, but what you've been able to build at certain times, right, and what your messaging is can be intangible. Obviously, title, as you said, is a little bit hard to tangibly talk about at times, but you've put your mark and made your mark in this business and in this industry. So really cool to have you. So any final ways that people can engage with you, reach out to you, do business
Yeah.
with you? Please share that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Again, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you, share some time, get to know you a little bit more as well. We are on all the social media places and channels, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. My email here at my office is Dru, DRU, traditional. My mom did it. I didn't have anything to do with it. I didn't name myself, but it's DRU at inspired-title.com. We are located in Palos Heights, Illinois, in southwest suburbs of Chicagoland area. We're also in Crown Point, Indiana. You can catch me on. I do some stints on WBBM Noon Business Hour. I certainly share some of this inspiration and fun with the Noon Business Hour guys every now and again. I have a podcast that is called The Closing Table. We are on Spotify and Apple Play and all those fun things as well. And again, my goal is to either run another marathon or write another book. I haven't figured out which. I think I might write another, or I might run another marathon instead of write a book. That was so mentally taxing. I ran a marathon at 50, and that was my goal. And when I turned 50, I ran Chicago, and I said, that wasn't so bad. I've had a hip surgery since then, no big deal. But writing the book during COVID was so much more mentally taxing. So I always like to challenge myself with, something big, and I think that we all need goals, and keep set small goals to get to the big ones.
Drop the name of the book again.
The name of the book is The 2 Hour Difference. Actually, I can show a picture of it right here. Look at this. Look at this. It is The 2 Hour Difference. Let me get it out in front of where it's lit. It is. It's available on Amazon. To help kids extraordinary lives. So, what's cool about that is there's just a lot of tips in there for parents who are in the travel world. And it's just not baseball. It's applicable to sports in general. It's just baseball is my passion and soccer is yours. So it has nothing to do with the sport. It's about the leadership and the mentorship.
For sure. And I got inspired around the pandemic time as well to write a book. I'm in the midst of it, coming out in July. We don't have the title exactly, but it's the 4A formula.
Nice.
So assessing where you're at, aligning with who you want to do business with and connect, taking accountability and taking action, right? So those are
man, that's great.
And there's some great stories behind that. And obviously each one of us have our own book inside of us to tell.
Yes.
It's our unique story. You don't have to be Mark Cuban, and that's what inspired this for CEO. Is like you don't have to be a billionaire to be put on a podcast. It's neat that you have one, I have one. We're building and we're getting stories out there, right? So
right.
You may impact someone that we don't even know in Sri Lanka or wherever, right? Or in Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah,
right?
I'd love it. No, hey, if we can inspire one person from this, we did our job.
Awesome, brother. Well, hey, thank you so much, and go for CEO channel. Hey, subscribe to the channel. All right, let's keep this growing. I know that it's all organic. We're thinking about doing some things, obviously, as we launch the book in July coming out. We're going to be having some episodes that share chapter 1 and chapter 2, kind of some pre-launch things, and obviously, let's support Dru and his book and what he's been able to do. So go to Amazon, send me that link, Dru, and we'll put it in the messaging part of the message of the video. But hey, thank you so much, Dru, for coming on, and I appreciate everyone for
Thank
watching.
you, man.
Take care.